I got kicked out of the College of Engineering at the University of Missouri, Columbia. And then I became a filmmaker. Let's talk about it. This is not false. This is actually a true story. And I don't think I've told my story since 2018 when I first really started my YouTube channel. So it's a long way coming. And for all my new subscribers, I just wanted to share with you all how I got here. And I feel like that's important because you want to learn from somebody who has been through things, who has been through the things that we're trying to teach you. And who does what they tell you to do. And I'm a prime example of all of those things. I went through adversity and I have been able to still make it here to be in front of y'all, teaching you guys what I've learned so far. So I've always wanted to do a story time, and I'm super excited to also just share my story in hopes that it inspires y'all to keep going and keep pushing. So yes, I went to the University of Missouri, Columbia. If you all have not learned so far, I am from St. Louis, Missouri, and I've been in Los Angeles for about 12 years now. But I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I went to Mizzou, Mizzou. I went to Mizzou and I majored in computer science and information technology. Now, this was way before YouTube was a thing. This is way before Instagram and TikTok. And social media wasn't really a thing. And, I know a lot of people have these stories of like, I've been shooting since I was a kid. And the first time I held a camera was this and this and this. And to be honest with you, I didn't really fall in love with filmmaking until college. And I've always been somebody who's been inquisitive. I was a grandparent's baby where I would sit and ask my grandparents and family all these questions because I was very into learning about where I was from and about the world, which is why I think I'm a documentary DP and why I love shooting interviews and documentaries, because I love hearing people's stories. And I always was interested in that, but being from St. Louis, I didn't grow up seeing films or, how films were made, or seeing Black women even DPing films or directing films. That wasn't a thing, and it wasn't a norm growing up. And so that wasn't something that I even knew was accessible or available to me. When I grew up around a time where you wake up and your mom's watching the news to figure out the weather. That's it. That's what I was growing up to and listening to the radio. And so fast forward, I went to the University of Missouri, Columbia to major in computer science and information technology, because one thing I will say, I've always been a tech person. I've always been a tech nerd. I've always been into computers. And, in college, I used to every weekend switch out my phone on eBay and just have a new phone because I was just interested in the tech aspect of it all. So I was always a tech person, so I went into computer science and information technology. My dad is from, the Army days, so he was like,
get into a career that is going to make you money.
It was never getting to something that is and follow your dreams. My parents were in that era that you got to sacrifice your dream to do what you need to do for your family and for yourself to be financially stable. And for me, the only thing that even made me happy was tech. And that's why I went into the field. Now, my first job was McDonald's, but what really kind of like threw me on the edge and into this lifestyle was I worked at our tech store called Tiger Tech for 3 years. And what Tiger Tech was I would be there selling Macs, selling Lenovo's, selling Dells, selling HPs, selling iPads, selling iPods, selling backpacks. And I would be right next to, it's kind of like how Best Buy has their Geek Squad. We also had something similar where if something happened to your computer, they would fix it. I was in it every day. So with that, as I'm going through, working at Tiger Tech, being the best worker I could be, but then also, in these classes for computer science and information technology is when I learned that I didn't necessarily really like coding. I was taking Visual Basics, I was taking Java and C++, and, having labs that were 2-3 hour longs where the class wasn't teaching you nothing that the labs was teaching you, so you didn't really know how to code. And it was one of those things where they felt like you should know it. But being a Black person from St. Louis, we didn't grow up learning these things. And so it was very hard. And I realized I hated coding. And so from there, I was still taking digital effects classes. Like, when you go in computer science, it's engineering classes that you take, but it's also like communication and digital effects classes that you take. So I took my first Avid class before they got rid of Avid. And I fell in love with editing. I learned how to edit on Avid, the basics. And they got rid of it after my first semester. And then from there, they started to go to Adobe. And Adobe went crazy. It was the Crave, the whole Adobe suite. And they were teaching us how to use After Effects and the Puppet tool. And, I was making all these random things. And I fell in love with that part of what I was doing in school and not necessarily the coding part. And it wasn't until I took Java and I was 4 points away from passing the class. And my teacher did not want to give me that 4 points. I asked for extra credit. I was like, I'll do whatever, because I did not want to take Java again. And he said no. And I flunked. And because I was already in a space where my grades weren't the greatest, I got kicked out of the College of Engineering. And here I am crying. And I'm like, my dad's job, he sacrificed to work at WashU, which is a college in St. Louis, to pay for me to go to school for free. I can't go back home and tell him that I got kicked out of the College of Engineering. What am I going to do? So first tip that I want you to all learn and take back with you is have people around you that see the vision before you do, or have people around you that, know you and know your dreams and know what you love and your passions, that they can pull that out of you. Because if it wasn't for my best friend saying, as I'm crying on her shoulder, saying, won't you do what you love to do and stop doing the things that, you feel like you just need to do for financial gain? She was like, you love taking pictures. You love, video. You love shooting. You love editing. Is there a major here where you can do that? And instantly, that is when my filmmaking career started. I had already been buying XD cams from Walmart and doing full-on shoots with those. And they wasn't even photo cams. They was video. Full-on shoots. I was the person that my friends were going to the shoot stuff to send off. And I was already doing those things just randomly and regularly. Hey, guys, let's go downtown Columbia and do a photo shoot. But I never thought that it was a career because, again, I didn't grow up thinking that this could be a career. I had never even heard of California before, for real, like that. And so when she said that, it clicked in me. And I sat up and I'm like, I should. So we talked about it a little bit more, and I decided to change my major to communication. Now, because this was my junior year, and I only had one more year, when I switched to communication, they were like, okay, because you have already taken a majority of your IT classes, instead of being here for a whole nother 5 years, we'll just have you go into communication with an emphasis in information technology. I said, that's great, because I only had to add one additional year to take all my communication classes instead of having to do a whole nother 5 years. Again, I'm trying not to tell my dad what happened. I'm trying not to tell none of my family what happened. And so through that, I got into communication, and I'm still working at the tech store. And so because I'm working at the tech store, I'm getting discounts, and I get my first actual digital SLR. Now, I used student finance, and at that time, YouTube just became a thing. And Jacob Owens, even though me and him just had a riff and I don't really support him anymore, I will say that he was pivotal in my early process of becoming a filmmaker, because he was the first one on YouTube that was really pushing music videos and how he shot them. He kind of was the godfather of creating what you see everyone doing now, even though no one wants to give him his props. And to be honest, I'm really not a fan of doing it now because of how he's become. I will give him 100% his props on being someone who really propelled me to and showed me that I could do this. So because he was doing it on YouTube with Kyle and I forget the other guy's name, I brought the Canon T2i because that's what he had. And I said, if he could do it, I could do it. And at the time, Canon T2i was the camera to have. So I bought it. I started doing photography. I was reaching out to my friends on campus who were, photographing our events and our step shows and all of these things and learning from them. I had got the Nifty 50 as my first, lens, and I was taking pictures and, shooting video from artists that was just living in Columbia trying to kind of come up, really going the Jacob Owens route. And I fell in love with it. And from there, as that's happening, because I'm able to student finance and get these things and I'm learning, I'm going on Google too, because again, YouTube wasn't big. So outside of Jacob Owens, I was just going on YouTube to learn what ISO, shutter, and aperture was. And then from there, I'm in communication and I'm taking classes where I have my teacher, Ryan Montague. I'll never forget. Shout out to Ryan Montague. And it's a communication class, but we're able to go out and shoot. And because I'm already doing that, because I'm trying to learn, I'm giving him and showing him, hey, this is what I shot this weekend, and I'm super excited about it. And he's like, oh, we're going to use this for class. And so he's literally using what I'm shooting for class of like, hey, guys, this is what I want you to shoot. And I'm able to go out and shoot even more just, based on what he was having us do for class. Now, Mizzou is not a film school, nor was it close to ever being a film school. They had classes here and there where you can kind of learn a little bit, but it wasn't a film school. I even wanted to transfer to Full Sail at the time. Thank God I didn't, because I've heard so much financially about it. But, so I'm just trying to get as much as I can and soak in as much as I can, because, again, I'm a junior, now I'm a senior, and I don't have that much time. And so I'm just doing everything on the side, and I'm really being ambitious because it clicked in me that this is what I want to do. And so I'm taking his class. I'm learning. I want to be a technical director. I wanted to be so many things. I started learning Final Cut 7 because in his class, after we shot, there would be times where we would have to use their cameras and they were on tapes. So we would have to digitize and use Final Cut 7 and edit. So now I'm learning and I'm playing with this NLE, and I'm just playing and seeing what I can do with it. And I'm creating some fun, amazing stuff with it and just growing because I'm so ambitious to just learn myself. And it was great. And so with that, tip number 2 I want to share is that sometimes your life reroutes and pivots. And I honestly feel like it's always for the best. I am a believer in God, rerouting me. And I think that was his way to get me into filmmaking, because had I continued on in computer science and information technology and been an engineer, I don't think that I would have been as happy as I am being a filmmaker and being able to teach you all. But because that tragedy had to happen, I learned so much about myself, and I learned how to embrace the change, embrace the pivot, embrace what God was really trying to tell me, which was that wasn't what you were supposed to do in life. This is what you were supposed to do in life. This is kind of how I want you to share me, my gospel, and your gift to the world. And so I'm honestly honored to have had that happen to me, even though at the time I was not. I was crying my eyes out. But just knowing that sometimes pivots are necessary for you to get back on track, or to even get on track, on the track that God wants for you, or just, where you're so really supposed to be. And I don't really think I could see my life any differently. And so I'm so honored that happened to me. And so tip number 2, pivots are always necessary to route you to where you're supposed to be. And we always look at changes happening and bad things happening and always asking why, instead of asking, what am I supposed to learn from this? And so to me, that was what I was supposed to learn, that my gift and my purpose was to be able to be a filmmaker and be able to help y'all in the way that I am now. Now, purposes can change, but at the time, I do believe that that's what my purpose was. So I'm learning all these things, and I'm growing on the side as a filmmaker, and I'm working at the tech store. So I'm also involved in tech, and I'm still buying phones, different phones. I had a Razr, I had a BlackBerry, I had the T-Mobile Kick. I had so many different phones. It's crazy. And I'm doing all that, and then I graduate. I graduate. And I get out of there, and I'm ready to go forth into filmmaking. And my best friend, the same one who was like, once you do what you love, was like, let's move to California. And so that is how I got to Los Angeles. Hopefully I gave y'all something different in this video. I know it's not the standard videos that I usually make where I'm teaching cinematography, but I feel like in order to know me now, you have to know me then, in the journey and the process of what it takes to get here. And it was not easy. And it may be easy for some, but it was not easy for me. And so I'm thankful that it wasn't, because everybody's journey is different. And I learned so much. Again, I have so many skill sets. People are like, you do all of this? Yeah. Praise God. Thank God that I do. Thank God that he took me on this journey to be able to be where I'm at now. Such a diverse and versatile creative. And yeah, so let me know your thoughts about this story time. I do want to do a part 2. So if you did like this video and you're interested in hearing how I went from moving to Cali to now being a DP 12 years later, We can talk about it. 3 lessons that I hope that you all got from this is, 1, be around people that is going to push you. Be around people that see your purpose, that want to really kind of like help you fulfill your goals and aspirations and dreams and purpose, and that God speaks through them to you, and be around those kind of people. I'm that person to other people because she was that person to me. And so hopefully, even with my YouTube, I'm that person to y'all. Go out and shoot. Go out and create, learn, live, all of these things. The second one was learning that a redirection and a pivot is not always negative. It does not mean that it's going to take longer. Sometimes it's for the better. And so be open, have a heart open to be able to receive a different path that you may not have thought about, and be okay with the path that wasn't what you wanted, because it may be the path that you need. God is always right. And then the last one I would say is be open to new experiences. I was scared to come to California. All my family lives in St. Louis. It is not close. I was going to be out here by myself, well, with her, but I was scared to take on a new city. I was scared of failing. It's okay to fail. The one thing my grandmother said to me before she passed away was, if you don't do it, you're going to always be questioning what would have happened if you did. So she was all for me going. And even though I didn't get to spend a lot of time with her because I went out here, I honestly feel like she was so proud of me because I really did fulfill a dream that was very new to my family. And so I always take that with me, and knowing that even though like me being out here meant that I couldn't be with them as much, she was like, if you don't go, you're always going to regret and question what would have. So in order to not question what would have, you have to do. It's okay to fail, because I honestly don't think it's about failing. I think it's about learning more lessons as you go.